I moved to New York about 7 years ago. I grew up in a really small town, and I really didn't think I would ever enjoy living somewhere like New York, but when I came here, you can just walk down the street in any direction and find something interesting happening. And that's actually translated a lot into the work I'm doing now with the Strangers Project, where I try to create these spaces where people can have this sort of unexpected joy of the sense of discovery of finding something they didn't know that they were going to find a few minutes before. It's just anytime you're in a crowd or walking down the street or on a subway or anywhere, we're surrounded by stories, but we don't often have access to those stories. So I wanted to find a simple way to sort of satisfy my own curiosity, but then went on to see that that same thing resonated with so many others. "40,000 stories that I've collected, and I've shared them online and in installations around the country and in my books."
I'm 8 years old. I always get angry.
How do you solicit the...
Just like this. So I set up spaces all around the country. I've done over 100 cities so far. Anyone's welcome just to read or to add their own. So it's just anyone walking by. Yep. Right. Just people passing by, all ages, all walks of life, every type of person.
Wow.
My mom found my pie cookies and ate one.
I started the Strangers Project back in 2009 in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I was sitting outside of a coffee shop, sort of watching people pass by, and the idea popped in my head to just see if people would share a story with me. Almost immediately, these two women stopped and asked what I was doing. I said, "I don't know yet, but would you like to write something about your life in my notebook?" They wrote something, and I was just immediately fascinated at seeing how willing and open and excited people were to have this opportunity. So I went out and did it on the second day and a third day, and here we are 10 years later.
I saw this beautiful project, and I love the fact that so many people all over the world wanted to share their thoughts and their stories. And it sort of reminds us that, like Maya Angelou says, we are more alike than we are different. And it's always great to share your story, sometimes just to get it off your chest.
Every story that people write for the Strangers Project is anonymous, and they're also shared in the moment. So nothing is prepared in advance, nothing is mailed in. Each one is somebody spontaneously making the choice to sit down and share a piece of themselves. I think we can learn a lot from each other's stories, so taking even just a few minutes to listen to somebody's honest account of what it's like being them. They more deeply know the people that they share space with, or more deeply know themselves. Many people following from all over the world, and every story I post, there's just really beautiful comments.
It's an amazing project.
Thank you. Have you ever shared a story?
I did.
Awesome. Well, you're always welcome to do more than one if you want. When did you last see it? I've been doing this for about 10 years.
I was going to say about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Yep, still here.
Moved to San Francisco, but now we're moving.
Coming back? I think one of the most common things I've seen, and it's sort of universal loneliness, desire to connect that isn't necessarily being fulfilled in other parts of our lives. And so this isn't a solution, but it's a small way to tap into that connection that people are so deeply craving. If you were to really strip them down, everybody's talking about the same things. Everyone wants to be loved, everyone wants to feel like they have purpose in life, everyone wants to overcome the challenges that they faced. Certain people love the short, silly, funny ones from kids. Some of them are incredibly inspirational, and those resonate with a certain portion of the audience. Some of them are very emotionally heavy. One of the stories was essentially a suicide note, and it really shook me up. I didn't know, they're all anonymous, I had no way to get in touch with this person. I knew that I'd been sitting across from her about 6 hours prior, but she wrote about wanting to go home and take her life that evening. Thankfully, a few days later, she emailed me and she described it, and she said, "I don't want you to worry. First of all, I want you to know I'm okay. Secondly, I want you to know that having a space to share that story saved my life."
This is like the smallest version that I do.
There's been some really wonderful things that have happened as well. I've had a few proposals happen within the project.
Can I go sit down?
The biggest fan of the project I have, his name is Leon. He's 86 years old, and he just would go on and on about how important this kind of project is. I think he's shared about 18 stories with me. He talks about not really having anybody, that he doesn't have the internet, he doesn't have people he really calls on the phone. And so this has been a way for him to explore all these all these lives of people he's sharing space with. And we just had hundreds of people writing in, thanking him for being a part of this. And it was just really beautiful to see somebody connect with it that strongly.
Could be
I don't
anything
know
about
what
your
I'd
life.
write.
And most people don't when they start. It just could be something you've learned, something unique about you.
Yeah.
It could be simple, it could be complex, anything.
I've been curious about how many people I've met, hundreds of thousands at this point, but some of them full conversations, some of them just a quick introduction, but many, many people.
You know what? I'll do one too.
Cool.
Why not?
Awesome.
Yeah, let's all do it.
I know.
Let's speak our truths.
All right, here's the first one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow. This is so comforting.
Haven't you?
I don't know why I'm doing it, maybe. I know that really, really early on, just seeing the way that this resonates with people and the response that people had to it, I knew I had to keep doing it.
I like that one.
So a lot of it is because I think it should exist, and I also just feel very fulfilled working on this. It's certainly very challenging at times, running this, trying to do this as a full-time thing while not trying to commercialize it. But every single time I go out there, I interact with hundreds to, at certain days, thousands of people who are just having these really beautiful reactions to it. And so just helping to create those spaces is incredibly fulfilling for me.